Welcome. Thank you very much. The Ghanaian Times says, President launches Universal Declaration of Human Rights Anniversary Celebration. Police grab fake soldier at Inswam and mass migration by Africans to Europe. Chobia further slams politicians for failure to end poverty on the continent. The Daily Guide this morning says, Daily Guide picks top spot. Kwabena attack ringleader smoked out. Police screen recruits. 1,000 illegal miners busted. And Ibrahim Saul's Flagstaff house. The Daily Statement says, name ban saga, Occupy Ghana threatens to sue. Why treat Dr. Baumia abroad? AJ Safo answers. And police seek divine protection against death shadow cast on service. Let's improve our human rights, Akufo-Addo charges African leaders. The Daily Heritage this morning says, a fact that causes confusion in Galamsey Queen's trial. Sick girl 18 abandoned to die. An incompetence brews at Tema Oil refinery. The Daily Graphic says, Merge Accreditation Board, Council for Tertiary Education Committee. Ministry to restrain speaker from multiple swearing in. Minority, I beg your pardon, to restrain speaker from multiple swearing in. And public edifices lose beauty. They are defaced with posters. And finally, on the front page of the Finder newspaper, it says, Tor IES face-off over forced shutdown of refinery just 16 days after resumption. Campaign against mother-to-child HIV transmission won't be relentless. My guest this morning, Comrade Murtala Mohammed. Chief, good morning.
Good morning.
Happy New Year to you. I haven't seen you. Sweet smoke you have there.
Yeah, and beautiful dress.
This is borrowed shada.
So that is the reason why you should go made in Ghana.
I hear you. I hear you. Any New Year resolutions?
Well, I have resolutions throughout the time, throughout the years. I don't have specific resolutions for specific years, and my resolutions are that truth stands at all times. It doesn't matter who it hurts or who it pleases. At any point in time, you should speak the truth. And in societies, when you are that kind of a person who speaks your mind and speaks the truth, you are bound to incur the wrath of many, and of course, the silent majority who will be pleased with your stance. And I also think that we sanitize our politics and understand that at any point in time, you don't necessarily need to defend everything or against everything. You always need to speak the truth. And if you read a lot about Malcolm X, there's a very powerful, statement he made, and I think in the 1960s, that I'm for truth, no matter who says it.
Right.
I'm for justice, no matter who is it for or against. I'm a human being first and foremost as such. I'm for whoever and whatever benefits humanity as a whole. I take a lot of inspiration from that.
I see. Thank you very mumuch.
And I hope Jay-Z does that.
Dr. Okuboy. Dr. Okuboy is a member of parliament for Lejokuku, the Greater Accra region. His constituents call him Lejokuku Jay-Z. Chief, good morning. Happy New Year. I like your tie and your pocket square suite.
Made in Ghana, Yeah.
Which one? The tie?
The tie.
Okay.
The tie and the pocket square there and the beads on them.
Yeah, at least I need to have the blend. Yes. Very important.
No, you're sharp. New Year resolutions for you?
Oh, when you are in opposition, your resolutions can shake small.
Why are you focusing on his? I'm asking your resolutions.
The way you spoke about truth and justice, and those are the things you need when you're in opposition.
He's a vandal, so...
I know, but you need the things you mentioned very well when you're in opposition.
Okay.
So that your rights will be protected. This year, I am actually... There's one thing I'm looking forward to. My government doing well to get all the resources to fix some very important roads in my community. That's my resolution.
The Teshi Link Road?
Yes, the road in front of the Lekman Hospital. That is what I'm hoping for. In fact, the day the contractor hits the road, I'll call my gentleman and make him forget where he is now, the opposition. He will feel what power is for a moment.
You see, the sad thing is that those rules were awarded, the contracts were awarded by the NDC.
By a government that had no money.
I agree, but with the government that has gone in for, in fact, a spiral of borrowing, they don't even have a gutter to show. And I would ask you to ask him whether he can show us a gutter in his constituency that has been given to contract by this government.
See, instead of a gutter, I can show you a tunnel right at the flower pot.
No, the tunnel. You are talking about
It's
the
a
tunnel.
big gutter.
The tunnel is important to state this. As a matter of fact, His Excellency President Mahama commissioned the tunnel, commissioned the overpass and everything before we exited. These contracts were all awarded by the NDs, and I have listened.
But they're going to mobilize funds to pay for
You
it.
see, I have listened to that.
you.
I have listened to that argument. It takes a political will and determination and foresight to see that there is the need for something to be done. I have listened to some of them, including my good friend. And he says, oh, the NDC awarded that without any money. I can give you a litany of projects that were awarded by President Kufuor's administration without money. At any point in time, governance is continuum. One thing about these people, the positive things are things that, yes, governance is continuum, but the negative things are things that belongs to the NDC.
Let's talk about water, because water has no enemy, and the Ghana Water Company last week announced that they were going to start rationing water. They mentioned that they were having a bit of a challenge in trying to generate water because they some of the water bodies have had their own set of constraints. But the public are not so excited about it. Dr. Opoku, I'll start with you. Within your area itself, there's a tertiary salination project that perhaps trickles down and which has had its own set of issues. What do you make of the water rationing that's happening at this point?
Yeah, let me first of all say a very good morning to all your viewers, especially to my brothers and sisters watching from the Lejukuku constituency. Let me be quick to say that no government or company that supplies water to the citizens would ration water with excitement or would even think of wanting to do it when it's not necessary. Obviously, once they've gotten to this stage, then there should be some genuine underpinnings, either with infrastructure, challenges with machines, maybe the state of the machines, or with the water bodies that they usually process and then supply to our homes. You know, over the past few years, Galamsey took a heavy toll on the bodies that serve as a source for our supply. And I remember so well, some few years ago, the Ghana Water Company came out and actually said that they had shut some of their plants down because the water that they were supposed to process was beyond, how do we call it, processing. The level of particles was just going to destroy their machines, so they shut down. So they've had a couple of challenges over the years, but I'm happy that at least the same Ghana Water came out to say that looking at the improvement in some of the water bodies after this attempt to, this effort to keep a check on Galamsey, illegal mining, they've recorded some improvement. Right. But by and large, I think when you do the collective analysis, they still have some challenges, which is making them do so. When we get into the dry season too, you know, naturally, you have the levels going down at some places. Really, I am still waiting to look at the specifics. I mean, the detailed reasons why the rationing, beyond some of these general challenges I can hazard based on their public comments and the challenges I know they've had in the past. I'm looking for the specifics. Beyond retooling and retrofitting their instruments, I think the last time I talked to the boss of Ghana Water, Dr. Brima, and he made an interesting revelation that, you see, because of the contract that is signed with Befiza, the company that was for desalination, they ended up using about 80% of their IGF to just, how do you call it, keep that contract alive, as in to be paying the monthly allocations to the company. Other plants, like the one at Pond and Weja and others, were suffering in terms of periodic maintenance and investments. And that these were some of the genuine challenges we have. So I suspect we have all these gamut of challenges. I don't want to go into the omission or commissions of previous administrations at Ghana Water and where it's landed them. The most important thing is to ascertain why they are rationing water and to find out quick solutions to those challenges so that we can make
Do we know these quick solutions? Because the untold hardship that it may visit on people, including your constituents, has already been envisaged. People are feeling it already. Factories, eateries, chop bars, name them. What do you know to be the quick solutions?
You see, I'm a friend of the finance committee. At least I've seen about minimum three international agreements, facility like loans, to the Ghana Water Company Limited, which was aimed at helping them to, retool, to fix their challenges and all that. What I'm trying to point out is that this government, within this short time, I've not seen that for other companies or government agencies, but they have had some resources. My brother, what I like it is about money. In this current world, any problem to a large extent, except a few, will be fixed with resources when the company gets resources.
In fact, Stanley Mate, who is corporate affairs manager of the Ghana Water Company, said that they were rationing water because of the Hamatan one, because of Galamsey and other activities. I have observed with worrying concern, perhaps I'll come to more on this one, how river banks have now become places where people want to dwell. Back in the day, you didn't have that.
You see, when a lot of effort was started by this government against the practice of indiscriminate mining on our water bodies, some people were like, what about their livelihood? How did they survive? But what do you do with money when it is gotten in huge amounts, but there's no water to drink and there's no safe, healthy food to eat? I mean, you get all the money and you die quick. So look, when you take just the Kweshi, which is the lagoon in front of the Labadi Beach,
in between Bema Camp and
yes,
Labadi Beach.
It's been consumed with debris, with I think the silt, the levels of silt and all that. And you have people now wanting to even develop banks as in closely to the lagoon. I've seen someone making an effort to even put up how do you call it, petrol filling station and all that. So our regulatory agencies must be firm, and we must remember as a country that you can get all the wealth, but when you get it, you need to stay.
But that's within your constituency. Some of these things. I think that the MP should take it up.
Of course,
deal with the issues as they come.
You see, we've not turned a blind eye. I have not turned a blind. I've been asking questions. Who is giving the permits? Where is it coming from? What is the project for? But as a country, we should also be careful not to put everything on the elected official. There are public officers who are supported with relevant laws, who are operating and are paid for.
But you see, Honorable, that's your jurisdiction, and you see, even driving from La Palme to Bema Camp, it's that Beshi enclave is like a dark alley, and there's a pavement right in the center. There are no reflectors on it.
From La Palme,
driving onto Bema Camp. Before you get onto the bridge, there's a pavement there that has no reflectors. Very dangerous. I'm sure Mo has seen it. But let me come to you, Mo, now. So we're rationing water, and then what?
Well, it's a symptom of how incompetent this government is. And let's stop the pretense. It is very clear. Albert Einstein once said that the significant problems that confront us can never be solved with the thinking we had when we created them. The problems we have at hand are problems that should have been predicted. You have people who are tasked with the responsibility to manage a state facility. They know the number of people who live in this country. They know the quantity of water that we have in the water bodies. Now, if you have all this, how can you sit down the extent to which we are in a situation in which we are? It is not just about the pain that people will go through. It is not about the effect that it would have on industries, small businesses. As a matter of fact, it is also a possibility of us being visited with a lot of diseases. You remember when water is not available, the consequences. And thank God, he is a medical doctor. Now, if you look at the desalination projects that we did, now the argument is that we spend about 80% of our internal generated funds in servicing something. The question we need to ask ourselves is, what has been the return?
Ghana Water says they are losing. They spend more.
Ghana Water Service has been losing. As a matter of fact, we are told that we lose about 25% of the water that we produced. Now, if that is the internal generated funds, do we have funds that are made available for Ghana Water Company, or they are absolutely relying on internal generated funds. Now, if the argument is that there isn't any budgetary allocation to manage these facilities, and that they are relying hugely on the internal generated funds, then we have a big problem at hand. As a matter of fact, the consequences of the water, the fact that they are making losses as a result of that project, to some extent is also attributed to how it is being managed. That is the point. Now, if you look at the projections, that at the initial stage, you may have some of these losses.
Okay.
But once you begin to improve upon the efficiency, you'll be able to reduce the losses and perhaps break even. And I think that that is the purpose. Now you have a government that decides to say that we're shutting down this regardless the effect it has.
They are in talks now to bring it back.
I'm saying that shut it down regardless the effect it has. We are shutting it down because we are making losses. Even though there is the possibility, a huge possibility, of us overcoming those losses, we simply do not care. And for me, that is extremely wicked. It is also important for us to understand that galamsey is not everywhere. In some of these communities, we don't have galamsey operating. In areas that you have galamsey operating, it stands to reason that it may have some effects on the supply of water to those communities.
But to be fair, the water trickles down, up north, down south.
I agree. But let's look at the water bodies we have. Take the pond, take the water that we have here. How does it trickle down? Now, even if you look at the desalination, how can you attribute that project to galamsey? It is also important for us to state, because Doctor was talking about the fact that when this government, the issue of galamsey, and I have commended this government for taking that step, but let us not create the impression as if that it has just started under this government. Successive governments have indeed put in their bid to ensure that these things do not happen. Water is sine qua non to our survival. As a matter of fact, our human body, we are made a majority of what is, I mean, the huge proportions of our body is made up of water.
Right.
To that extent,
70%.
70%. To that extent, you cannot survive without it. I am not just looking at people who don't have waters and others, which is a serious case. The consequences. Now, if you weigh between the effects of not doing certain things because of cost on the society, juxtapose that with the cost you would incur, and I think that you take a reasonable decision.
What do you advise more?
Under the circumstances, I think that this one should be operating. Yes, it should be operating under the circumstances. Rationing water like we ration electricity, under the circumstances, it should be operating. I agree that some will argue that yes, we are incurring a lot of costs. I thought they told us that there is money in Ghana.
Doesn't the Ghana Water Company have genuine concerns? Galamsey, Hamatan, cost of production, illegal connection.
That is the more reason why, under the circumstances, when we are even told by the same Ghana Water Company that we'll begin getting water when the rain starts. You know how many months it's going to take? And I'm saying that looking at the effects of it on the people, let's disregard the cost so much. There are a lot of state agencies and programs that run at cost. Must we shut them down because they run at what? At cost. If we can give 2 billion Ghana cedis to the Flagstaff House, 2 billion Ghana cedis to the Flagstaff House, and they should tell us what they use the 2 billion. Because I'm saying this, you have a previous government, 4 years, that spent totally 1.3 billion. 4 years. You have a government, the first year, they were given more than what the 1.2 billion, now 2 billion. And you don't have money to ensure that this thing runs.
There are 6 new ministries that are operating from the Flagstaff House.
Ministry,
which would draw their
those
funds from.
No, please. There were already ministries and agencies that were operating under the Flagstaff House. There is an issue
but the 6 more have been added.
I'm saying that those ministries' budgets are exclusive. They are absolutely, and I'm challenging TV3. Hold on, but why? I don't expect you to say they are not. I am challenging TV3 to investigate to find out from the budget. I am surprised he's a member of parliament and he's saying this. From the budget, whether the budget allocation for those ministries are exclusive. And another point, we are being told that they are taking the free SHS to Scholarship Secretariat. And the Scholarship Secretariat falls under the presidency. When already there is an allocation about 1.3, 1.2 billion within that for free SHS.
Let's come back to
I'm
water.
coming. I'm saying this because of the point I made.
Right.
There is already a budgetary allocation for it from the Ministry of Health. Ministry of Education.
Right.
Now you are claiming that you are taking it to Scholarship Secretariat, which falls under the Ministry, the Presidency. Now, are you now taking that money from Ministry of Education because there was already a budget line for it? I am saying that check from the budget. Those ministries' budgets are exclusive. Now, if you can find 2 billion for the presidency, 2 billion Ghana cedis, and now this one, you are not even injecting money. You are only using 80% of the money that you generate to do this, and for which reason lives can be protected. And you think that that is too much, and therefore you must not. How insensitive could this government be?
My brother,
Dr. Nkrumah's government, yes.
You see, my brother said something that he quoted Einstein.
Right.
And that you cannot use the same mind to solve the problems. I'll quote Dr. King. You see, it's not the number of yes,
philosophy class.
Yes. It's not the number of problems you live with that determines your nature or character. It's the quantum of solutions that you have provided or you have in offer that we should use to define you. If we are saying that a government is incompetent and clueless because during its tenure a problem has arisen, then what do you say about the gamut? I'll not even start listing them. Challenges that the previous governments had that they dealt with. A classical one being Doomsaw, which worried everybody, industry.
But we solved Doomsaw. You didn't.
So to a larger extent, you should be judged by the efforts you made in addressing Doomsaw and not its mere existence.
Right.
Otherwise, somebody could have said that you should have also predicted, based on the number of watts, megawatts we need, the number of Ghanaians we. That is so. Look, every government. In fact, it is the how difficult the problem is. That's what defines how successful your story becomes. Okay. Now, let me come to the water issue. You see, I intentionally said I do not want to go into the activities of previous governments, their omissions and commissions.
And I'd rather we don't.
Good. But just to give you a few statistics, the contract signed with Befisa, a meter cube of water is supplied at a cost of 6.5 Ghana cedis.
Right.
And it is sold to the consumer at 1.5 Ghana cedis.
That's what Ghana Water Company
Good.
says.
So they were making, the deficit was 6 million Ghana cedis lost
every cycle of production.
Every month. And then they, by the contract, also pay the electricity used in do the desalination, which is also at 2 million Ghana cedis. Now, you see, over the years, every government, including their government, including our government, there's a lot of capital investment into Ghana Water. I mean, so that they can supply and help the citizens. But now you have a situation where you've gone to sign a contract under a previous government where you need recurrent expenditure of at least 8 million. I'm talking about not capital, recurrent. Every month you need 8 million.
You need to cough it up to
yes,
run it.
Every month. Now, when I talked to technical people at Ghana Water who were involved during the time they signed this, the excuse that what they actually said was that because water is so important, they were hoping that government to support them to take care of the deficit every month. But this is the danger. Every government, particularly this country, you have so many needs and wants that if you are a company and you are looking at the Ministry of Finance, that's government, to give you a check of 8 million every month, outside capital investments too, generally there will be issues. And you see, remember, we've had contracts signed in the erstwhile government, which after audit showed that either they were inflated.
So what did you find with this Belfisa contract?
And
which was faulty?
Excellent. The information is that, of course, because we believe in the sanctity of laws guiding contracts and all that, Ghana Water is talking to Befisa so that there will be a mutual possible renegotiation to come to figures which can be sustained so that they can remain in business. We can also be in the business of helping our people. You see, whether we like it or not, government is a continuum. Honestly, if we had been in power by then, the contract would have signed, would have been healthier. I'm coming. This contract, you see, I'm choosing my words.
How do you know that the conditions at the time?
Look, but if you're a government that goes into signing the contract, where you are purchasing water at 6.5 Ghana cedis per meter cube, and the rate you are giving it out is 1.5, for how long are you going to sustain that? You understand? So, please. Let me tell you.
Wrap up for me.
Yes, let me wrap up. Remember that out of the liabilities submitted by Ministry of Roads and Highways, which if change had not come, were going to be paid, when this government asked the Auditor General to do a review of the certificate, 592 million Ghana cedis have been proven to be fraudulent or not to be genuine.
The NDC challenged that figure.
Oh, no, it's not for them. The Auditor General Department is an institution of state. And please, it's an institution of state, which is not political.
Right.
When they did the audit of certificates before them, they were able to prove that 592 million. And guess what? This, if you have such an amount in one fiscal year, guess what we have been losing over the past years?
I thank you. Mo, finally on this one, then we'll go.
Auditor General's report is not absolute. Get that very clearly. If Auditor General does a work and present their report, it is the responsibility of the people for whom those, if you like, adverse findings are made to respond. Have they done that too? Auditor General's report can be challenged in a competent court of jurisdiction, upon which any decision can, for you to sit here and make that conclusion. As a matter of fact, hold on. As a matter of fact, we have gone in for bonds in this country. The Ministry of Finance has a legal department. We have Ministry of Justice and Attorney General. Your government paid 700,000 Ghana cedis as legal fees. Please, I haven't. No, I haven't. You are talking, you are talking about, the allegations of corruption. In any case, if they spend 8 million Ghana cedis monthly, multiply that by 12 and juxtapose it with the needless 2 billion you give to the flag server. It's important I make this. I have challenged you. And we'll dig into it. We will dig into it.
If you don't bring him on the road,
hold on. You see, in this country, that is the funny aspects of the NPP. You remember when we demonstrated the kind of money that we indeed borrowed?
Let's stay on water.
I'm staying on water. I'm staying on water because
you're widening the conversation.
No, he did that. By the way.
But you have veered to.
So, in response to what he said, by the way, this government clearly, if you ask me whether we can find a solution to this, nobody said that there is any justification in spending that much. And if you listen to me carefully, what I said is that under the circumstances that people's lives can be lost, there can be an outbreak of diseases. Under the circumstances, let us still manage with that losses because we have no other alternative. Tell me where we can get water if we do not take some of these decisions. Let us do that whilst looking for a solution to it. And that is the point I made. But see, take the budget. Last point, just 30 seconds. Look at capital expenditure of this government. In 2016, I stated this yesterday and I'll state it. Capital expenditure was 7.9 billion under the NDC. When this government came, they reduced the 2017 to 7.1. This 2018 budget, capital expenditure is 6 billion. So what it means is that they don't have any intention of investing inside because that is where you have some of this investment.
He holds a contrary view. But one of the solutions that Dr. Nkrumah brought was to have reservoirs at vantage points. We don't see them anymore, so that when the taps are shut, people can go to those reservoirs and get water. Are we thinking of that?
Yeah, I think, you see, we have a lot of fine. I've had, because of the desalination plant, I've had the opportunity to meet. Oh, I'm not.
Are we getting that? Yes, no. If we are not, then we move on.
In fact, it is because of the desire to sustain that plant. That's why we are in the negotiation, so that we get a good deal that can let it be sustained for a longer period. You see, I've had a cause to meet some of them. We have very fine technocrats. They have fine variables or alternatives on paper. Most of them are capital investments, and this government is also committed in support. Like I said, we've passed some international, we've approved some international agreements. They've been presented on the floor in Parliament and approved. Ghana Water has resources. They are, in fact, when you come to Lejokuku, you see these huge pipes along the how do you call it, the tertiary link that they are trying to construct and all that. It's a process. They are continually investing in capital
so that we can fix
what I don't know is whether they would go for this classical Nkrumah reservoirs. They have other ways of also ensuring that water is available. It might not be necessarily what was done 40, 50 years ago.
I thank you very much. Page 18 of the Ghanaian Times. I thank you very much. Page 18
of
the Ghanaian Times says, police grab fake soldier at Insom. A self-styled military officer has been busted by the police at Intwasuni Insom in the eastern region. Prince Ferguson SL 27 is reported to have paraded himself as captain of the Ghana Armed Forces for the past 7 years. Assorted military accoutrements such as uniforms, boots, cap, water pack and kit bags have been retrieved from the suspects by the police. Now, the military went in there, they asked him about his number, they asked him about what regiment he belongs to, and he didn't know. But he's a captain, he has been doing this for 7 years. Does this spell the state of security in terms of how people are able to acquire uniforms and use it to perpetrate guns and use it to perpetrate all manner of things? Well, I'll start with you. What does this say to you?
Well, we have had similar incidences in the past, and it would be unfair to say that because of this particular, incident.
I'm not just zeroing into
I know.
this particular, right?
I'm making a point. However, there is no doubt in anybody's mind that we are in a complete state of insecurity in this country. And there are evidences to prove that. If you have 4 police officers killed in 1 month, I can't imagine anyone telling me that the security situation in this country is not in a dire state. When you have police officers being brutalized at the seat of government, and what the government does or did at that time was not to look for those who did that, but they were interested in looking for the person who videotaped the incident. When you have the same government's appointee, regional security coordinator, who is molested, beaten at the full glare and presence of the police service, and nothing is being done. When you have terror groups that are formed by a political party, financed and aided by that political party in government, and that group walks into a competent court of jurisdiction, but for the intervention of some security agencies, they would have lynched a judge. This thing has never happened anywhere, not even in Afghanistan. There is no doubt in anybody's mind. As a matter of fact, if you listen to all experts in the field of security, they have all attested to this fact, that there is a serious security decay in this country. And the earlier something is done about it, the better. So it's not about doing politics. It's about stating the facts.
Right.
In fact, in Tamale, I was in Tamale last week. Something that throughout my young age in Tamale, we haven't experienced. Rampant and unabated armed robbery attacks, sometimes around 7 p.m. It's unacceptable. And the earlier something is done about it, the better. You see, when people are emboldened, when you have groups that are formed, vigilante groups, by the way that are all defined by the AU as terror groups.
Mr. Esel has done this for 7 years.
I agree.
And within the 7 years, it beats my imagination how it's not fished out within the 7 years.
That is why I said that I don't want to use this particular incident, because we have had that even in the past, where people would manage to get police uniforms and others. Yesterday, we discussed a similar thing. Now, how are even our security services or men are recruited?
Right.
The extent to which you need to know the psyche of those people. Investigation is ongoing. Is it that he got it from a security man? Okay. Or he got it from the open market? The question is, can you buy such things from the open market?
The uniform has a name tag.
That's what I'm saying. So, belonging to who? He or a different security man. How did he get it? There are instances where police officers, you remember there are a lot of reportage, where police officers even rented their guns to armed robbers. Right. That, I took it on a rent. So that when I go and rob them, I'll come back and then pay. Under the circumstances, something ought to be done. There is no denying the fact.
Something like what?
The brace. There is the need for the political will. Now, if you have a group of vigilantes who held a press conference and threatened everybody and said that they are beyond arrest, that is a serious case. So, for me, issues of security, you can never tell who will be killed the next day. Now, police officers themselves are struggling for their protection and appealing to everybody to see how they can be protected. How more or less you and I, those of us who don't have the luxury of having military officers and police officers guiding us, perhaps they are. Anyway, we don't have the luxury.
Speaking of they are, Honorable Kuba, yesterday, Honorable Kwame Agboja mentioned how his vehicle was shot into by some persons on the road, and he mentions that there are some people who look like vigilantes who have just been brought to Parliament. Have you seen any of those jumpsuit security officials who have been brought to Parliament?
You read a story about someone who has impersonated or claimed to be a soldier when he's not, for 7 good years. Right. And my brother took you on a path of vigilantism and people acting in a lawless manner.
That's not fair. You remember even when I said that
he said it's not politicizing. But
I said you can't use even this.
Hold on,
let me help
incident.
Forgive me. I want to help you.
No, don't help me. No, my question is.
I'll answer. You don't have a problem.
Yes.
I'll answer. And then here you are. Your next question to me is Honorable Agboja mentioning some people who look like vigilantes or wearing green. And
You think it's an unfair question? Is it an unfair question?
It's because you've fed onto the bait.
You're looking at
But that's unfair. Okay.
No.
Hold on. I want you to confirm for me or otherwise. Yesterday,
So that I go to the
said
issue.
it. Yes, then we'll talk about. So
I've not seen.
You've not seen any
yes.
jumpsuits.
I've not seen
Security persons.
I've not.
How many
Not
dental
at all.
offices do you have?
You see, let me tell you something.
You may be one.
In this country, elsewhere, in other jurisdictions, this gentleman, the first thing they will do is to have an interaction with him and see his psyche, like his motivation.
Okay.
It brings me to mental health. There's one condition they call delusion.
Okay.
We have people who have always wanted to be doctors or soldiers
Right.
or judges. If they don't succeed at becoming a judge, you can see them wearing their
The robes and gowns.
Their
Sorry about
robes.
that. Sorry, I'm sorry about that.
can wear their robes, have their wigs, and either sit at a junction or be parading at the courts.
Be presiding their own cases.
Exactly. The same can happen with someone who had always wanted to be a soldier.
Right.
Now, how do you tell such things when you do the interaction, the assessment? Especially when the fellow has been wearing this uniform for 7 years and maybe you go to his background, he's not slapped anybody before.
No, we're told he's been slapping people.
Good. So I'm talking about assessment. He's not gone on a robbery before, or he's married. Like the assessment shows that a person. I'm not saying that's what this gentleman is, but I'm just telling you of the
Of
possible
what could happen,
exactly.
right.
No. So it is important not to be quick to have our own subjective judgment, but to do total assessment. Then you can categorize the fellow as an imposter, one that intended to do harmful things with it or and all that. Now, the second one also is that I was just looking at the pictures, the assault, the soldiers slapping and all that. That is not proper.
I agree.
You understand? It's an opportunity to we are still not living in 79 or some era when the head of this country was one of their own, and it's like the law, it's that of, how do you call it? It's important.
Even in 2017,
You know,
we had a police officer written
hold on for me.
I'm not talking, no, please. It's not about the government of the day. It's not
About-
It's not about the military. regime.
yes, it
but
can be.
the
Look,
military-
Hold on for me.
yes, so it's sad. And they are so bold, even in front of cameras, you can hear. The law is, they are not a law unto themselves. We are living under this rule of law dispensation, where even if you arrest an armed robber, it's supposed to appear before a judge. So please, the police, the army, how do you call it, the command,
The hierarchy.
they should talk to the officers who went there. These things must cease. It's not proper. And then, now, let me give you the solution.
I think you provided.
This is what is done in every civilized advanced community.
What?
Any person who is a law officer, whether immigration, police, the army, they have an ID number and their names on them at all times.
Right.
Now, in the US, in New York, when I was
He
on
was
vacation
asked.
one
He
time-
couldn't provide.
Good. He did not have an ID. He had a name. There's a difference between your name and your ID.
Hanging on the
Exactly.
uniform.
For 7 years. If that had been the norm, it will not take the army to go there and identify him. Meeting him on the streets or anywhere, when I look at a number, I'll just cross-check with command that you have a soldier here. This is the number. When they cross-check, they'll tell you we are coming. It's fake. This could have been done 6-7 years ago. Right. And do you know why I'm saying this? No. I have seen police officers. I encountered one recently. He was so unprofessional and so crude in behavior. And when he had no name, had no number, and it was at a public function where even we had a high state official there. When I asked him for his name, he just went away. That is not my business. So immediately we must develop this culture. In fact, it's not a culture. That's supposed to be the code of ethics. Right. Every law enforcer, every state law official ought to have the name and ID. That is how we can tell. You understand whether they are genuine or not, and it will also affect behavior. Let me conclude by also mentioning that it's not the uniform that makes you a law officer. In the US, you can dress fully army, nobody will touch you. What makes you a member of the U.S. Army is your number. So over there, when somebody is dressed and feels like wearing an army uniform, nobody goes.
But as way back as 1996, I remember, this was banned to own a military paraphernalia was banned, but including firecrackers.
Where we use this mechanical archaic method, you always have problems. It does not take a ban. Make sure that the one who is a genuine member of the army, they have their number on them at all times.
So then that gives people the impetus to parade themselves?
No. You see, that is when you have created a situation where it is the number that makes you one. What people look out for, even for the genuine ones, is their number. And do you know what it's going to do? No. It will help to flush out all these armed robbers who...
But you see, Doc, the police and the military, they use their numbers. Perhaps I'm not seeing the military wear their numbers, but the police have their numbers.
I said I encountered this police officer less than a month ago. This is a police, it's not other ranks. This is a senior officer.
What was he doing?
Yeah, we went for a function at, what's the name? Professor Safo Kantake's.
Right.
His
exhibition, right.
And this was one of the command heads. I'm talking about command head of the other police officers.
See, Doc, you are being unfair. I'm coming.
No, I've not mentioned it. You see,
no, not the police. You are being unfair to the military. And the reason why I say this, I agree with you when you talk about the beating.
Right.
It's unacceptable.
Yeah.
I agree with you.
Yeah.
Even in the United States of America, we have imposters.
Right.
Even in Europe, we have imposters. Now I'm saying that when there is an imposter and the person can create a name, create a number, someone can do that.
Right.
How many military he is not operating, he's not attached to any military garrison. He is just using it at specific times for purposes known to him. It takes a lot of investigation and community participation to be able to establish that this person is not a military officer. I'll give an example. When we were in Legon, there was this young man who came to Legon. He came to Legon, and you know, if you were in Comalt Hall or any of the halls, perching in Comalt Hall, he wasn't a student. He wasn't a student. Okay. He was attending lectures for 3 years.
You see, the delusions.
Hold on, he was attending lectures for 3 years.
To what purpose?
It's mental health.
He wrote SSS.
Okay.
He didn't pass. He came home, told his parents that he passed.
Okay.
He told parents he got admission. And, you know, and that gentleman was there. You see, you can't blame the university for having such a student.
No, I'm not blaming that.
No, I'm coming. Yeah. Now, if you say that they should have done, even in Europe and America, the examples you have cited, there are people like that. What we simply must understand is that the community participation is very, very important. In fact, in fighting crime, you need the collaboration of the society with the military and the security agencies. Now, when you made reference to 1979 and others, that is why I had no other option than to refer to you that even as recent as 2017, not any other place, not at Makwala, at the seat of government, you had a police officer who was manhandled, beaten by groups that are known to government. Known. And you have your general secretary who says, look, their members will not disband them. He said, when you make such statements, we are compelled to make such references. Not to compare, but we need to look at, you could have avoided that.
No. You see, my brother Mutala, you are, I know you, I'll not say you're a strict academic, but you are sort of an academic. When you are talking about issues, there are exceptions, I agree. But if you look at the widespread nature, not because of the head of that government, or the widespread nature with which military officers did engage in excesses. I'm talking about the general decision. Not if it happens
now. For 2017, we have had that.
I'll align to that before I bury him.
Even under civilian dispensations, you can have a military officer misbehaving himself or herself. Those can be exceptions, but you always talk about the general curve. I mean, in the 79, which I was talking about, when we had military heads and all that, I mean, their behavior, obviously, the general behavior was not like this. My brother, you see, I like what he said, that you need community participation. That's the most important. The tool that helps the community to effectively and efficiently participate, to identify quack ones.
Is a number.
Excellent. And yes, and we have a culture where if we go out, I know, but that's why when I see a fake number, a policeman in my community, and I cross-check, I'll be the first person to tell them that, check this number. They say does not exist. They are coming for him. This gentleman wouldn't have survived for 7 years if the culture in this country is that every officer on the streets has a name and a number.
No, but I asked how he got the assuming. You see,
you can buy from.
That's not original. It's not the one on the street.
I said you can buy from the shop.
No, dog. I asked how he got the uniform.
Okay.
Assuming that the uniform belongs to a proper military officer.
Right.
Assuming.
You are now discussing
No, I'm saying
it could be belonging to his father.
It's possible. So if the name is there, the number could be correct. The number is correct. The name is correct.
Yeah.
It will be very difficult.
I know, but you see, I'm happy that in citing an example, he went to a gentleman who was attending lectures for 3 years.
Yes, 3 solid years.
If you study psychiatry, classical case of a mental disorder.
So
that's why
we will come to that conversation later, because even our mental health, the provision that goes to them is questionable. Yeah. But let's talk about Gitmo to wrapping up. The Quagmire gets mired. The story, the plot thickens as we make progress. Now,
with all the heat in the studio,
the US. What did I say something?
Is that determined to you?
The US ambassador said that it's gone beyond them now. It is between us and the detainees. Yeah. Are you surprised, first of all, at the comments made by the US ambassador?
Yeah, I'm not surprised. You see, the US authorities, when they approached Ghana way back in 2014, when the negotiations started, to take 2 of their own. Remember, their president had taken the proposal to their Congress, which is the equivalent of their parliament. And guess what? They shut it down. That don't resettle them within prisons in the US. Find a place and take them. And we, as a country, opted to take them. And guess what? I was thrilled by the revelations that were made by Malik Baku, that the Interior Ministry, in a series of correspondence signed by James Agaga, then deputy, told cabinet that we advise you against taking the Gitmo 2, that it could have security implications and political consequences. This is the Interior Ministry of His Excellency President John Dramani Mahama, his own Interior Ministry, telling him that don't go for them. Now, the Foreign Affairs Ministry then, please, the Foreign Affairs Ministry then kept on repeating letters to the Interior Ministry, telling them that, look, we are still in the process of going for the Gitmo 2. Right. And they got confirmation that we still stand by earlier advice. Don't go for them.
For Benatef and Adobe.
Excellent. The same Interior Ministry under President Mahama, signed by Agaga. But Cabinet is a superior body. Cabinet took the decision, headed by the President, of course, to go for the Gitmo 2 against the advice
on humanitarian grounds.
On compassion. The base of or is it compassion or
you look for
humanitarian.
Yes. He just showed compassion. But it is interesting. After having lost the election, they didn't only lose power; they've lost the compassion as well and the humanitarianism.
Are you saying that on the face of fact?
How come that it is not? If it's not only for the mere sake of arguments and engaging in mind discourse and argument, how can you have a government that was so compassionate to go for 2 suspected terrorists?
Okay.
Their compassion was so huge that they went for them against the advice of the Interior Ministry. The same government today in opposition, the same group, is now telling the incumbent government that send them back. Where is the compassion? Now let me come to the issue.
But you have been questioning. You have been questioning that this is not a good decision.
Yeah, and let me show you.
So you are in power now. You have.
Let me show you our consistency.
To revoke
our consistency. Number 1, we argued then that the president did not have the power to sole moto with his cabinet bring in 2 suspected terrorists under an international agreement which had not been seen, approved, and ratified by Parliament.
Right.
The courts vindicated our group, as in the MPP then in the opposition, that these guys had a solid case. You need to bring it to Parliament. And guess what? The court said if you don't take it to Parliament to ratify, send them back. It shows the strength, the balance of powers, and what the courts could do. Now, they are saying that, okay, it's 6, send them back. Do you know that the agreement had in it that sending the suspected terrorists back to the US after 2 years is not an option? It was in the agreement.
It's not true.
It is true.
That is false.
Please, it's not falsehood.
That is absolute.
Supply the contrary evidence.
We've not seen the document.
That's absolute
falsehood. And I should tell you the level of...
Dr. Yeni has indicated it's falsehood.
You see, look, the fact that you've not seen an agreement when they are staying in Ghana can affect you tells you the level of transparency of the extra government.
So their stay here expired in January 6, 2017, 2018. Yeah. Who is taking care of the upkeep now? Because the U.S. presented stipends for them.
Yeah, for
after
2
that,
years.
what?
Yes. You see, sometimes when you ask that a document comes to Parliament, people think it's just for the fun of it. No. They said they have an adage in Twi that Nyansa Nyina ni Bakutim.
Right.
That's to wait. You don't have all the wisdom in one hand. You know what? If the agreement had come to Parliament, the questions being asked now, some of them could have cropped out then. Right. So that in coming to the agreement, such important clauses and conditions would be taken care of. Now, as it stands, the U.S. was obliged only to pay for 2 years, the stipends. The compassion was so great then, it overlooked what will happen 2 years.
Do you have compassion? Does this MPP government have compassion enough?
I have seen, please. I have seen a document read openly by a senior journalist in this country. A meeting between U.S. government and Ghanaian government. And in the meeting, what happened clearly was that the U.S. was told, or this government discussed with the U.S. to help find ways of relocating the two in either Morocco or Saudi Arabia. Okay. Now, it came out clearly in the meeting that the position of this government remains what it had in opposition, that we are not comfortable having these two suspected terrorists. It was in such meetings and follow-up that it came out that the former government did not only sign an agreement, they took steps to solidify and entrench their stay. By
who is paying for the upkeep?
It's the state.
The state.
Yes.
How much does it cost us?
You and I.
Do you know how much it costs us?
You got to ask him.
No, I'm asking you. You are paying the bills now.
Well, now we are handling the mess, so it's good you ask him.
So how much?
Yeah.
Do you know? Quickly, then we'll go to Mutala.
Do you know? They are doing business in Ghana.
Answer the question.
How much is it costing us?
I said they are doing business in Ghana.
No, yes, but how much is it costing us?
I'm not finished with the.
Thank you.
You know, let me go by his logic. Yeah. At least it reminds me of my philosophy 101. That the NDC was demonstrating compassion, and the MPP was demonstrating principles, the safety and the security of Ghana. If you agree that our compassion has been thrown to the dogs, then your principles and your interests. Oh, I'm using your logic. In logic, I don't necessarily need to.
Okay, we've run out of time.
Philosophy 101. If you agree that the NDC has lost the compassion, you have lost the principles, you have lost the integrity. You hold on. You have lost the security of this country. Let me bring to your notice that we are operating an executive government. No country can. Yes, an executive government. If you don't know, hold on, please. Oh, please, can I finish? We're operating an. Oh, please. It has got nothing to do.
Were you not obliged to taking the agreement to Parliament?
Will you allow me to make my point?
It's deliberate.
Please,
we are operating an executive government, and I'm saying that the extent to which there is a Supreme Court ruling,
right?
You have no any other business leaving these people here. If your position was that their presence in Ghana was a threat to the security of this country, you have the powers now. It doesn't matter what NDC did. And in fact, that powers are supported by a ruling of the highest court of the land.
Well, what do you say to the thought that your government was not truthful or honest?
That is not
declaring the full details.
We declared in the first place. The Minister of Foreign Affairs peddled falsehood when she said that they were giving Ghanaian passports. When she said that they were giving refugee hold on, they were giving that they were giving refugee status. This is not true. It is not true. It is not true. What travel document? Please. The only legal travel document with which you can leave this country is either a passport or a document that has the capacity and the influence of a passport. It's been proven that that is not true. Dr. Ayeni, please. I'll send me those. It's not true. Dr. Ayeni had indicated that.
So the refugee office is not.
Dr. Ayeni had indicated that you guys peddled falsehood, and I'm saying.
But that's the refugee office.
Hold on. I'm saying that granted that all those things were given. We're operating an executive government. Now, if you are so principled and you indeed hoodwink the religious groups in this country. Hold on, you did that.
So they don't have a mind of.
Oh,
How
I'm
can
saying
you say that?
you hoodwink. Please, I say you hoodwink.
How can we hoodwink?
Please, I'll still make those
clergy.
You hoodwink the clergy.
How?
And to
you
had clergy. You can't. You
all
see, don't play to the sentiments. Don't play to the sentiments. Please, you had clergy who gave the president source and others.
So that's for you.
Who did outright politics? And I'm saying
that's not fair.
No, I said you hoodwink. Hoodwinking someone, you can hoodwink someone with lies, and that was precisely what you did.
So you
hoodwink, of course, it's possible. You hoodwink Ghanaians and hoodwink the clergy.
And I hope the clergy.
You hoodwink. You see, Doc, you are too nice for that. I mean, I can do this. Yeah, you hoodwink the clergy into believing your story. As a matter of fact, before these people were brought to Ghana, President then candidate Nana Addo was met by the Americans.
And what?
And he said that he had no problem at all. You remember? You remember before the elections? You remember before the elections? You remember before the elections? We consistently wanted to know the position of the largest opposition leader in Ghana, President Nana Addo.
Is it true that you have tied the hands of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and the government?
I am saying that you have the powers now. If you, and I think that it explains why the NDC was voted out of power.
Okay.
You have the powers you couldn't do.
Act in a capricious and whimsical manner.
All right, gentlemen, I thank you very much for your time. Dr. Bernard Okoboy is a member of parliament for Lajokuku out there in the Greater Accra region, and he speaks on behalf of the NPP. He's joined us this morning in this flashy bow tie. And the comrade Murtala Mohammed is also a former Deputy Minister of Trade and Industry, and he is on behalf of the NDC. I thank you very much, gentlemen, for your time. Thank you. Thank you.
He's trying to hit my head with the clay, but that's it.